2, 3, 4, 5. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Inside the Actors Trailer. So this is an opportunity for us to really come together and have some incredible discussions. I'm Princess Sarah Culberson, and I'm excited to be with all of you today. So actors and actresses of color in Hollywood are directly affected by the lack of diversity with hair and makeup artists. This panel is a round table. We're all in a round table here on our screens to bring together, to focus firsthand experiences of the talent, all the women on this call, women of color, to shed light and to share their experiences in the industry and providing insight into how to create a more equitable on-set experience for actors and beauty talent alike. So thank you, amazing queens, for being here today. It's so wonderful to be with all of you.
Thank you.
Yay! Woo! So I want to have it take a moment to actually do a round table. Can each of you just take a moment and introduce yourselves and share one thing about yourselves? I'm going to pull a lot out of you, but just something you'd like to share. Monique, you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, I'm Monique Coleman, and I have a 13-year-old dog. That's my random fact. And I've been, despite this young face, I've been in the industry for over 32 years. So I have a lot of on-set experiences that carry me from South Carolina to Chicago and now to Los Angeles. So I'm really excited and grateful to be here for this conversation.
I love it. Yes. Who wants to go next? LaNisa?
Yeah, I will jump in. Hi, everyone. I am LaNisa Frederick. I'm one half of #book. So excited. I guess my random thing is, one, I'm fangirling because, look at this amazing panel. Look at all these amazing people. Monique, we got to talk about these Chicago roots, too. We got to talk about these Chicago stories as well.
Yes.
You and I both, we have our Chicago stories. I haven't done theater there for a very long time. So I'm excited to dig in.
Yes. Danielle, we're going to go next.
Hi, my name is Danielle Pinnock. I am the other half and the work wife of LaNisa Renee Frederick for #booked, which you can find on Instagram and all social media platforms. #booked is a place of solace for actors of color, anybody in between, to come and share in the misadventures and the foolishness and the hilarity that we all deal with behind the scenes, on stage, on screen. And we're just so excited to be here, y'all. This is just a treat.
We're so excited to have you. Oh, I'm so excited. Roxanne, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Roxanne Avent Taylor with Hidden Empire Film Group. I am producer, co-chair and producer of the company, and we've been independently producing movies for 15 years. And I'm excited to share kind of in front of the camera and behind the scenes of it all with Black and brown faces.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Sarah, please share who you are.
Hi. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah B. Hall, and I have been in the beauty industry for many years in front of the camera and behind the camera. I am a founder of an organic vegan body care line called Restoration Skincare by my brand, Sarah B. Beauty. And currently, I am working on Bob Hart's Abishola as a makeup artist and also Netflix's After Party.
Very nice. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. All right, ladies. So I'm going to be going around. So Monique, can I start with you and ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
Yeah. So can you tell us about your career and how you got started and got your start in the industry?
Sure. I started actually in South Carolina, and it was because I was a typical child that could not stop talking. That's really what it was. I was that kid that animated everything and would read the textbook as if it was, the most interesting story ever. And I had a wonderful third grade teacher that pulled my mother aside and basically said, listen, she's not bad. She just can't focus. And maybe it's that she's an artist. And at that point, my mother recognized that we needed to go on a hunt for where to channel all of this energy that I had. And so that's how I started piano lessons and dance and so forth. And once I got into acting classes, academically, I improved exponentially. And I was just so much more fulfilled. And I had a place to harness all of this excessive energy and talking. And I've just been doing it ever since. I remember being on set at 10 years old doing my first commercial and standing and looking over the ledge and thinking, literally, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to make people feel the way that I feel in this moment. And now, 30 years later, I still feel the same way.
Oh, I love it. And what an amazing teacher, I want to say, because so often teachers don't have that kind of insight to guide you. And that
Absolutely.
teacher just told your mom and just embraced you. Oh, and look at you now. Look
Yeah.
at you now. I love it. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to go on to both of my hashtag book ladies and ask you all a question, and you can answer this together. So you two, oh my gosh, your social media is hilarious. You actually often share about yourselves and your work in the industry in social media. So I want to ask you, in your social media content, can you share more about what it's really like for you all to navigate Hollywood as two Black female actresses?
Yeah.
Well, we started in Chicago. We were understudies in the basement at the Goodman Theater, waiting in the wings, really trying to get our little shine on. And that's where our friendship started.
I love it.
We started there. And I think what brought us together in so many ways is the fact that we would share these, like what Danielle loves to say, and I appreciate it, these Underground Railroad stories of what it's really like. And because it's so, it's secret. Don't say nothing. Don't get blacklisted. Don't, make a stink about anything that's really going on. So Danielle and I, we would have our little kikis, like, girl, then they didn't bring any makeup, so I had to bring my own. Our girl, then they tried to spray Aquanet in my hair. So we would share these stories, and eventually we were like, well, let's just put them out there.
Yeah.
Let's put them out there and let's talk about it.
Yeah. Black women, Black actresses are the Harriet Tubmans of the industry. And we are constantly either paving the way for others, you know what I mean? Or we're getting abused in some crazy ass way, or you know what I mean? Like, and we're always having to like come together and share these secrets. Y'all, there are too many times I've been on set where I've looked like Casper the Ghost.
Facts.
I'm like thinking I'm looking all right. And then I see this go back when I see it live and I'm like, why do I look like a white woman? What's going on here?
Right.
What's going on?
And the little tips that you have for each other, because you, just like Harriet had her map, we'd be like, all right, now if you go there, bring your foundation because they ain't got none. Like I've been on a set where a makeup artist I came in and she literally looked at me and said, oh, they didn't tell me you were Black. I don't know what I have for you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, getting into your hair and being like, so what are we going to do with this? And I'm like, sis, we got 10 minutes till I'm on set.
Right.
I need to be an actress. I can't think about what you're going to do with my hair. I got to deliver.
I mean, those are the different things. All those kind of Underground Railroad secrets is why we decided to start #booked. Also, I feel like in a time of social media back then, we absolutely would have gotten blacklisted for even sharing any of these things. But right now, it is the Wild West online with TikTok and Instagram and Twitter. So one night, LaNisa and I literally were at my little dusty apartment in Sherman Nice, and I had my little cracked phone, and it was the time when we were #not booked, and we were just talking about kind of all the intricacies that happen in our industry, especially when it deals with us. And we were like, let's film something. And LaNisa was like, okay, we'll do it next week. And I was like, look, I got the phone right now. And that's how it started. And more people were like, wow, I feel seen. This is my story. I can't believe this. And we've grown in such a way that was so surprising to us because we're just sharing our truth. That's it.
Exactly.
Yes, I'm so glad. And what didn't one of you have COVID recently and you're feeling okay now? Yes.
What
happened?
The struggle. the struggle. I am getting back.
Yes,
I booked a commercial the day I got the call from my doctor about COVID. So that was a fun phone call. Like, hey, not happening. I have COVID.
That's the other thing that people don't talk about is like auditioning in the quarantine and dealing with the global pandemic at the same time. LaNisa called me and was like, I got COVID. I'm like, okay, well, listen, take the B complex, take that vitamin D and that echinacea, sis. We're here for each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like lots of soup deliveries and anything to get my girl back because it's serious out here.
It's really is
insane. And like people aren't talking about what's going on with actors, especially during this time, because we we're needed. We're needed on set. We're here to provide entertainment for the masses as we go through this global transition. I mean, this global pandemic. We're essential workers.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't realize
absolutely
that, you know what I mean? Like we are risking our lives on set. We're getting tested every single day, sometimes 3 times a day, you know, and with the thing of just, we don't know at any moment we can catch this thing, right. But it's just, girl, when LaNisa got COVID, I was like, we got to get our girl back.
I'm so glad you're well. You look great. I'm so glad you're here with us.
I'll take it.
Important. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, I have a question for you as well. I'm getting to everybody. So what was your first experience on set? And what was the most important lesson that you learned?
Well, I have to say, my first experience on set was probably many years ago, and how this topic is so near and dear to me is because I've lived through all aspects of it. So many years ago, I started in this business as a model, and I would always get booked for the ethnically ambiguous role or the multiracial role or whatever it was. And my very first experience, a big job I had booked, which I'm not going to mention any names, but it was a hair care line, an African-American hair care line. And I used to wear my hair very big, natural, curly, and just natural. Did my own thing. It did its own thing. And so I got to the job, and I remember thinking that's what I was going to shoot it as, because that's how they booked me as. So where I really gathered a lot of my experience was first as a model, before behind the camera, and now in front of the camera. I see like and live it every day, just like how hard it was, because at that time, even, which mind you was like 25 years ago, nobody knew what to do with my hair. They look at sometimes my hair would be curly in the back, straighter in the front, and then my complexion, one artist might want to go on the lightest part of my face, and then they might want to take like my hyperpigmentation and make me darker than the rest of my body. It was just so much confusion. And that's why this is like such a huge topic for me, which I was so in it when I was asked to be able to participate with you ladies, because it's heartbreaking for me now as an artist to witness this firsthand and have to go in and fight for my actors and fight for that, because that was my experience. I understood them. So I have a heart thing for it, where I can see it both behind the camera and in front of the camera. So my experience really came from my own first lived real experience. And then, later on, many years later, as a working artist, now I experience with my actresses who might not be number 3 or number 4. They might be number 3 or number 4, maybe number 7 on the call sheet. They're still extremely important. And unfortunately, like I feel them. I feel exactly what I went through, 25 years ago on that job, where I'm going into a hair care campaign and they didn't know what to do with my hair. They wanted to straighten it to show the before and after of what this product would do and how we could wear our hair natural. But they wanted to immediately go take heat on my hair. And I came in with this big curly hair and not do anything pre-treated, nothing. So that was my first experience really saying, wow, this is a need. And yeah, it's huge for me.
I feel like we can all relate to that. I remember, I'm going to just share this really quick, being on the set when I was doing American Dreams, and there was a black man to do my hair. Dreams with a Z. It was hilarious. A spoof on American Idol. There was a black man and a black woman who did my makeup. And I was just like so used to not having somebody who could do it. And they walked in and they were like, "Girl, we got you. You are going to look great." I had Afro puffs, and they took this hair and they did all kinds of stuff with it. I was like, this is a miracle. So I know, I did on both sides. So it's hard when people don't know what to do. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. So, well, we're here. That's why we're here to talk about all this, ladies. That's why we're here to talk about all this. So, Roxanne, I have a question for you. Can you tell us more about Hidden Empire Films and the mission behind your company?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, you know, as I earlier stated, we are self-independent, self-taught. You know, we have a financial backer, which is very hard in this business, being Black people. And we we were just a product of no, and that's how we fell into creating our own company, you know, and we, to date, we own all of our own IPs. To date, we have delivered and distributed 12 films. Most recently was Fatale with Hilary Swank and Michael Ealy. Prior to that was Black and Blue with Tyrese and Naomi Harris. Intruder with Megan Good and Michael Ealy. And so, you know, we really try to make films for an audience and for the culture. You know, our main thing is to really make sure that everyone can be identified on that screen, and to give people chances, you know, or a seat at the table behind the camera and in front of the camera, you know, that they otherwise wouldn't normally have. As you know, it's 20 times harder that we have to work, and no matter what you do, you're still never really validated, and you still never get that A-list clout. And our thing is really just trying to empower the next generation, you know, that you can do this. I mean, with a little fight, right? And a little mentorship, but it takes people like us to actually grab somebody's hand and pull them along. It's one thing to say you're going to do it, and then it's another thing to do it, you know? So it's really important for us to really just make dope content, you know what I mean? For audiences that you can identify with across the book. You know what I mean? It doesn't just have to be Caucasian or Black or, you know, Latino. Like, everybody's voice should be heard. Everybody's voice should be seen, right? And then the undertone is also like, we love flawed characters. We love social, impactful, like, stories. So even though it may be a popcorn movie, it's really important to highlight the story underneath. There's always a story underneath, you know? And I think, you know, the last few years we've been able to, you know, reach over $100 million in the box office. And I think it's very credible to society for people to see that you can kind of, you know, there's a changing of the guards. I feel like there's a lot of things that's happened in the last year. And I think as long as we continue to have people like us stand up, have a voice, be bold, even though it's scary, because it's really hard, especially when you get to a certain level in your career, when everybody's watching anyway. It's like a fine line that you have to walk when you're in, you know, a place of power, I'll say, right? And so not abusing that power as well when you're in the room, right? Instead of being like the stereotypical loud Black girl, you know, the B word that I won't say, you know what I mean? All of these things that we're labeled as, and being able to keep your composure, and instead of being, you know, silent with your voice, being vocal behind the scenes to make things happen and to turn the page, you know what I mean? And so my husband back to someone else, right? You're supposed to pay it forward. That's what life's about. And so I also have 3 kids, 4, 7, and 16. And, you know, we're just trying to be over here and get it done.
That's incredible and so inspiring. Thank you. And I love what you're talking about us lifting each other and pulling each other forward. And just that's what we've got to do. That's what we've got to do. Thank you for sharing all that. Okay. Monique, I have another question for you. So you recently got the whole internet talking about how you were interviewed. You were actually interviewed sharing your hair experience on High School Musical, and your experiences with all that. Can you share a little bit about what that was like for you?
Absolutely. But first of all, I just have to I love us so much because even when we are muted and silenced, we still are like, yes, sister. And I think that that just so much speaks to the heart of who we are and why this topic is so important, because it touches the part, it goes against inherently how we treat one another, and it makes us feel smaller than we actually are. And the shame, that's what I keeps coming up, is the fact that we are so beautiful, and that there's this seed of shame that gets planted every time we are treated as if our hair or our skin is a burden. And so I'm just again so honored and grateful for this moment. To be honest, that was an accident. What happened was I was interviewed about 15 years of High School Musical. I was asked a very innocent question about how the hair and makeup, how everything came together in terms of our look. And if I had been in my most consciousness, I likely wouldn't have even said it, because I would have edited myself out of saying it any sooner. And it's powerful because I think that sometimes God has a way of bringing your truth to the forefront, because it's not all about you. So I would have likely, in full transparency, protected myself and protected Disney, or protected whoever I felt could have seen what I said as an injustice. I said it innocently because it was the truth, and it has been so long. And then when it was extracted from an interview because someone read it and saw it and said, oh my gosh, really? Is that true? And I was on set actually, and my girlfriend said, have you seen that you're going viral? And I was like, no, I had no idea. And I started to watch it come in. And the series of feelings and thoughts that I have, I feel like really mirror kind of the journey that we experience when we're on set, when we have these moments where we recognize something and we start to see our whole careers flash before us. We start to see, I think as artists inherently, we already are wondering where our next job and opportunity is going to come from. We're already in a constant state of survival and surthrival and figuring out how to continue moving forward. And these moments, as powerful and as incredible as they are scary, because in the past, there wasn't room to follow a moment like that with a conversation like this. And now there is more transparency. Like Roxanne was saying, that it's so important that what we do behind the scenes is mirroring what's happening in front of the camera as well, and to remember that we're dealing with real people. So I just reached out to Disney, and I just spoke up and said, listen, this was not my intention. However, now that we are in this moment, is there a way that we can have a conversation? I believe that that's what we can do to move forward. And they said yes. And it makes me think, how often do we allow our fears to A, silence us and keep us from speaking up, but B, that we can have that transparent conversation, because people are not always as ill-intended as they are sometimes ignorant to what is needed in a situation. And it is our opportunity, not responsibility, but it is our opportunity to bring those things forward and give people the chance to grow as well, because we want it to be better, not just for us, but for the girls that are going to come up behind us.
Preach. Yes. And I also am wondering, with the climate that we've had, with the movements over the summer and so on, do you feel like that supported you in your conversation to say how you felt and reach out to Disney? Because I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I just feel like I think I've slowly been like leaving my F's, just like leaving them with every year that goes by. And there's something that happened with turning 40, and also just having miscarriages and just growing up, like just being a woman, a Black woman, that's like, no, you can't. I've seen too much, and you can't take from me what God has given me. This is my birthright. It is my right to be here, to exist. And I feel like it's just kind of a culmination of the climate, and also opportunity. You do need to strike while the iron is hot, because there is a fine line. It is important to come in and be a disruptor, but you don't want to tear everything down and then not be able to have a voice inside of it. And that is that balance that we have to find, not skewed towards making sure that we are acceptable to a particular population, but making sure that we are actually able to effectively communicate what we mean. And that's what's important to me. And so if I ever sometimes choose my words carefully, it's not for your benefit, it's for my benefit, so that my divinity isn't diminished in what I'm trying to say, and so that you can actually hear me.
Yeah. And also, your divinity did come out without you silencing any part of yourself, which has impacted so many people with that.
Yeah, in my real life, girl, I cut all my hair off. I was like, it led to some really tearful conversations. Like, I went back and I thought about, I started having conversations on set about how I never show up to a set with less than 2 wigs, how, I always bring my own undergarments, how you should always have a foundation in your kit. These are all, it's those of us especially who came up through theater, these are all valuable pieces of information, but I'm interested at what shade you don't have to start carrying your own foundation. I'm interested in what texture hair doesn't need to bring your own pieces to set. And whatever any of us do, all of us should be doing. And I think that's what equity really is about. It's saying, hey, I'm not asking you to do something different for me. I'm asking you to treat me the way that you would treat anyone in this circumstance who has something that needs to be treated with love, care, and artistic, artistic prowess. Like, we deserve that same thing. And this is not a burden. Yep. Figure it out.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing all of that and sharing your heart. This is so special. I feel like we're in, like, even though we're all in these Zoom boxes, I just feel like this is just like a hug that we all need, this sisterhood. So I just appreciate this so much. Okay, for the 2 of my amazing #book queens, I wanted to ask you, and I feel like you spoke to this a little bit, but I'm just going to ask, what are some of the ups and downs of being an actor in this industry?
First of all, Monique, sorry, I'm still there.
No.
Sorry.
Not inside my spirit in real time.
Whole spirit filled with your words. Opportunity versus responsibility. That's going to stick with me for a long time. Opportunity versus responsibility. Girl, what was your question? Because
beautiful
Monique, I'm still over here like teared up. Everyone needs to hear this. Everyone needs to hear this. It is so important. It's so valid. And it's why we're doing this whole entire summit. So thank you for those words. It was incredible. Incredible.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, like, if you're recording this, I hope so. Because what you shared was so beautiful. So beautiful. And so important. What did I ask? So I said, what are some of the ups and downs of being an actor in the industry?
I would say, well, now listen, as my friend LaNisa says, it's a journey, right? When we started in theater, we were getting paid in what? Pizza. Okay. So it was like, oh my goodness, we're just excited to be on the stage. And then like we get to be on television, and now we're getting $1,000 to say, oh my gosh, the fire's over there, for our 2-3 lines. Right. And we're playing as Black women, we're playing these occupationally driven roles. We're the truck driver. We are the receptionist. We are the sassy Black this and the sassy Black that. Right. We are playing street. We are playing hood. We are channeling every other stereotype that the white gaze sees us as. Right. And that's gaze, G-A-Z-E.
Yes.
Right. So I think now something that I am realizing specifically is there's a couple of shows that I recur on. One is Young Sheldon on CBS. When I first started a lot of these shows, I was just really excited to get a coin to just pay my rent, right? there was a situation that happened where somebody else's payment agreement ended up in my contract on one of these shows. Someone that was white, male, didn't really have that many credits at all. And I'm coming from, you know, decade plus of theater training, all of the things, degrees, MFA in UK, all of that.
Yep.
And I saw that they were making 3 times as much as I was making. And I was so confused as to why my check looked like this. And it was the difference between staying in a home to rent for another 2 years and owning a home. Like, it was that vast. So when I reached out to my agent at the time, I said, "What's going on here?" They were like, "Well, you know, pay gap is real." And that's all they had to say to me. I left that agent so fast with the quickness. And I was like, I got myself an entertainment attorney. I got a better agency. And now I'm only repped by people of color because they fight and they're fighting for me in a way that I've never seen. My lawyer is black as hell. I love him so much because when a network says, "Oh, well, you know, let's start her at 20," he's like, 50. That's what I'm hearing, 50. That's what I'm hearing. You know what I'm saying? So there are so many different things that I've had to learn. And LaNisa and I doing this together because we both came out to LA. We were theater girls, just starting out in the TV world. Even though we've had years and eons of theater training, Broadway, off Broadway, all of this stuff, TV is a little different.
Very different.
They
Yeah.
have their own set of rules, you know? So it was great to start #booked, especially with LaNisa, because we're going through this together. You know, every building block, we've been doing it together. Like, this is literally my sister. And like #booked, to be able to talk about these things and using comedy, that's
Right.
a form of activism. You know, like, even though we are making jokes about, "Oh, this person doesn't have my shade," or there was a sketch that just went viral recently where I was going in for an attorney role, but because I'd only played slaves, I literally came in with my blazer and head wrap, which is a true story.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything other than the stereotype. LaNisa was the casting director. I was shocked that she was black. So like the whole sketch audition was a mess. And people were like, "Yo, this is so real." Like,
Yeah.
people don't really talk about this stuff. And I mean, it's gotten us like more things. Like, we're developing this into a television series and all kinds of amazing things. But there are so many different building blocks that come with being a black actor of color in this thing, that it's not just a one.
Right.
There's levels to this thing.
There's so many levels. Absolutely. And I think like one of the beautiful pros is that once you sit into who you really are as an artist, then you learn to say no. You learn to choose and have discernment for what is meant for you. Because like we talked about, you know, coming from theater, we're like, "Oh, you go give me a pizza? Ah, thank you. I'm so grateful." But now we're like, "Oh, now I'm choosing. Now I can say no." So a pro is learning who you are as an artist, really. Learning what kind of legacy, like you talked about, Roxanne, like what do you want to bring out into the world? What do you want to leave the world? And there's so many, we are able to utilize #book as a form of activism because it keeps us honestly sane. You know, because those are some of the cons. Some of the cons are, you know, understanding that, "Oh, wow, I'm making 3 times as less. Oh, cool. Or, okay, in terms of hair and makeup, understanding you do pack your own bag in order to get to set. Those are the cons. But the beautiful part is understanding who you are as an artist and sitting in your truth in that. I do a lot of teaching. Danielle and I both do a lot of teaching. And especially for the younger folks, it's so empowering. One, this younger generation, they ain't playing, and I love it. I'm here for it. They be like, "Nope, that's wrong, injustice." And where we used to be a little scared of that, they say it, and I feel like there's a give and take. They've honestly empowered me, and I have the honor of being able to pass a baton about my experiences, but also learn from them. So I think it's like just really growing and understanding as a collective group, which is so exciting as well.
I love it. I love it. Thank you both for sharing. I love it. Yes. I was so enthralled in what you were saying. I'm like, okay, what's happening? Get back on track. Okay. Sarah, I want to ask you, how do you instill confidence in talent of color that may be working with you for the first time?
Sure. Well, I probably kind of drown my actors when they first sit in the chair and sit to meet me, because they're probably looking at me like, okay, she just will not stop talking, because I am such a communicator when I have someone that I first meet and when they first sit in my chair. Because, you know, for me, not to digress on it, but for me, I'm very heartfelt. So I have such a heart for women, especially. And I want them to be able to feel comfortable at best, just to get to know me a little bit. Then I always have this, I don't know if it's my spiel, but no matter what, I say, you know, I have been where you're at, and I want you to know you're in good hands. And they might look at me like, okay, where is she going? But I'll say, like, this is a group effort. It's a you and me effort. So I said, I want you to know that anything we do, I know we have to keep within your character, but anything we do can be changed or added. And then I asked them specifically, it's not just me, it's not just what I'm saying you're going to look like. It's what makes you feel comfortable. And is there anything you like or don't like? So I go through my whole little spiel with them at first. And then I tell them, I'm like, you're in good hands. And I always like to say, kind of like, I got you, girl. I've been where you're at. So I want you to feel comfortable to know. And then because I use the science of makeup so much with my background, I guess, I really tell them, say, this is what I'm going to do. I just don't want you to be alarmed. I might take you real light in your center, but I'm going to bring your color back in. And it's almost like as soon as I say that, because I want to make sure they know that you're going to get your highlight, you're going to get your contour. As soon as I say, I'm going to bring your color back in, and then I say, let me see your chest, let's look at your arms, like I evaluate, then I'll say, then it's almost like, they can relax. And they'll be like, okay, you know, they'll calm down there. And it's the communication piece. And unfortunately, I'm speaking from, as an artist and working in both worlds of non-union and union, unfortunately, a lot of our union, you know, old timers, they've been there a long time and they get stuck in their ways and they don't want to, it's just like they do it the way they do it. And unfortunately, it is an issue across the board. I think that, you know, they get stuck. And then when they see somebody of color come into their chair, they're like, they have their what numbers, one, or their, you know, back in the day, C7, my C9, my, you know, my N45, you know, like my N52, like they have their numbers, their go-tos. And it's not like that anymore. Things have changed. And there's just a huge piece, like I communicate when I get that actor in my chair, because I feel them. It's such a heart thing first, because they're already coming in with fear. And you guys you shouldn't have to be thinking about your hair and your makeup. You should just be able to sit down, do and be in your craft. Run lines with the other actors. You know, run lines with whoever's running lines with you. Focus on your character instead of having to worry about like dodging around, you know, who's ever doing your hair and makeup the whole time. You're like, ooh, what's she doing now? I hope she's not going to leave it like that. And that's why the whole time I tell them, like, you know, and I tell them I hop around the face, so don't be alarmed. I'm going to come back to it, because I want to give them that peace of mind. You sit in here and be in character. And then when I'm done, then we can go through and make tweaks. It's not, and I'll say, it's just makeup. It's not a personal, I'm not going to take it personal. We're going to go through it, and you give me your idea of your character. Like in developing characters, you know, when especially when I first start a show, I like to really get the feel and the take from my actor. What do you want your image to be like when people see you on screen? Because it's a scary thing. Like you shouldn't have to have that fear as an actor or an actress. You should just be able to get in and do your craft. And that's a huge problem in the union world of television and film, I believe, that there's not taking the time to communicate with their actor. And then of course the education piece. Like there's a not to make this even bigger, but there's a real problem with people in general, as we know, not just hair and makeup, but humility. Like, just admit, you know what, I don't have your color. Do you have something? You know, or if that's the case, don't just pull out, just like, like you were sharing, like, oh, I didn't know you were coming. That shouldn't be like that. We should be prepared as artists across the board to know that no matter what, you can be a C1, I'm taking back from old Mac days, all the way up to your brownish shade, and then unfortunately they don't, they get stuck in a vein. So I just try to really communicate, to answer questions, like communicate with them to know that you're going to be okay and we're going to get it and we're going to nail it. And guess what? It's our first date. That's my other thing I'll say. It's our first date and we're going to get better every time. The more I learn your skin, the more I learn your color, the more I like, where you like your contour place. Like, it's important, and that's a humility thing too. It's like, you have to be able to say, I'm here for you, I'm your artist. I'm here to help you make your character come to life.
That is so beautiful. I see Danielle and LaNisa, they're like, yes, we need that. Yes. And I love how, just to think back to one of the things that you said, how you talked about, you look at their arm and their neck, and like, because my body is like 80 different colors, I feel like. So like trying to match the skin, I love that you do that. It's so beautiful. And it means a lot, I know, to the person sitting in your chair.
And then it helps each of you do your jobs. You can each do your job, because then I'm not worried about like, oh gosh, she's not going to know what I'm doing, or they're not worried about, what is she doing now? It just brings this ground here where it's like, we're doing this together. Let's create your look. Let's establish this look together and your character for the show,
I think we all want you to be the person doing makeup when people come to set, right? We have Sarah Hall, please. Sarah B. Hall. Yes, please. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. Roxanne, I want to ask you, can you share what it's like on the production side, fighting the good fight of implementing meaningful diversity and equity in Hollywood? And what are some of the struggles that you've faced?
I mean, not to be in my ego, but I get to pick and choose what films I get to do now. So, I don't have that fight anymore. But just to add to Sarah's comment, I mean, that's great to hear, because coming up, through this business, being a producer, I'm always talking to them about preparation. You know what I mean? It doesn't start the moment they get to set. It starts the moment that they're cast for the role, and making connection with that artist to find out what their skin is like, what their hair is like, what their tone is, any pigment issues, any eczema, whatever that is, right? So you are prepared when you get on set, so you don't have those issues about, oh, I didn't have your color and I didn't do this. And I think you have to hold people accountable, you know what I mean? And you have to, I think, to speak to the earlier comment about the A-list from, 20, 30 years ago, Black people have to learn how to do Caucasian hair and makeup, right? But there is no training class or requirement for them to do Black hair and makeup. So I think there needs to be, it starts a little bit higher, I feel like, in holding these cosmetology schools accountable to learn all facets of everything if you're going to be in this business, and do the continued training. And then also as a producer, you have to hire the people that they're going to be comfortable with. Talent is the priority. That's supposed to be their safe zone, right? You're supposed to make them happy 150%. So if they're not happy, especially the way they look in their own skin, how are you going to get that to shine on the camera? You know what I mean? In front of the camera. So I just wanted to add to that. But, listen, I've faced adversity since the day I was born. I'm actually mixed. My mom is white. My dad's Black. So I got it on both sides. You know what I mean? I remember my mom getting kicked out of diners because I was Black, but she could stay. I mean, it's always been a constant struggle, with the sexism and the racism. And so adversity has been my biggest teacher, right? And so it's, even though it's hard, it's taught me so many things, moving through my career. And the self-confidence is the biggest thing that you can have. the perseverance, the determination, all of this. It's not like I don't cry and quit and say I'm done with this and do all that and then get back up and dust myself off and do it again. You know what I mean? We're in a business where there is no every 2-week check coming in. You have to create your own lifestyle, your own business, your own jobs. And if you give up, then you need to be okay with that and go work wherever that's going to be and not complain about it, But I think for me, it's always like, okay, how can I be better as a person? How can I never seen anyone behind the scenes of color ever. So I was just like, it makes you feel like, oh my God, am I here because of this reason or that reason? Or am I chosen because of, the inclusion process? And, so I'm just I'm just really trying to give people opportunities that I never had, and prior to this, I had a tremendous fight. And to what everybody spoke to, getting, less of a paycheck when, they advertise for one amount, but I get a different amount, having to work 10 times harder to get any acceleration through the company, being sexually, attacked, being verbally attacked, you know what I mean? And not just getting the credit when credit is due, it still happens to this day. I mean, I see deals being made every single day with people who have done of what I've accomplished, right? But I just congratulate them, right? Because I'm on my own path, I'm doing my own thing, and I'm not trying to compare myself to the next person. It's very hard to be like, man, why did they get that and I didn't get it? And I did this and but again, I think it's the whole accountability. We have to make everyone accountable. All the boxes that have to be checked, everyone needs to check those boxes. I shouldn't have 10 and then Sarah only has 5 and Danielle only has 3. We all have to have the same amount of boxes and the same amount of process. And it starts with the powers that be by creating this, and I think, again, there's changings of the guards, and I think we'll see a lot of that being changed. But I don't even remember what you said, but the question you asked.
We only have a few minutes left, and I would love to ask you all this question, and we can popcorn it, whoever wants to take it first. But what do you think needs to happen to create a more diversity in front of and behind the camera?
You got to give the people the opportunities. You got to give them the opportunities to show their talent. I have a hairstylist that started with me 8 years ago. I didn't know her from Adam, but her personality was great. She was amazing. She was great with the talent. She did an amazing job. And so I'm very loyal. It's calling those people back. You know what I mean? To commend them for their work and giving them. And I have literally now, she is my vanity producer in charge of hair, makeup, and wardrobe. Do you know what I mean? And special effects. And she's getting producer credits across the board on the last 4 films that I've done. It's like, really, like, we're always so quick to look at what somebody's not good at and what they don't do and what they don't have, instead of highlighting what they're great at and rising them up with that, you know what I mean? And making that flourish. And I think they can learn everything else if you give them the proper tools and training, if you just highlight what they're good at and who they are.
Yeah, I think sometimes too, we're so, especially as women of color, as Black women, we're immediately, oh, you have to be this good already. You have to be, we don't get the opportunity to learn. We don't get the opportunity to grow and fail up. Versus, like we said, like other people, oh, you get the opportunity to fail up. Yeah. We don't fail up because you have to be twice as good right away, or they're never going to call you again. You're never going to get that opportunity. So it is that passing the baton, passing it forward, the mentorship. Yeah. I'm in a mentorship now, and the person that is mentoring me, like, she is head of like animation over at Sony, and she's doing all this amazing stuff, and she's helping me she's like, just ask questions. Let's help you move up. It's about keep going on, passing that baton on, and not just casting or hiring someone that just looks like you. And that's what usually happens when you're higher up. And it's honestly a lot of these white males that are higher up, then they hire, oh, I know this guy. I've been with him for a while. No, hire someone that you have never seen then. Give them an opportunity as well.
Yeah, I know we're at time, but I just want to quickly say, as diversity and inclusion rises in the industry, I pray and hope that the industry does not Jenny Craig this movement that's happening. We are not a fad diet. You can't just put up your black squares and think that that's going to be enough. The work starts behind the scenes, as everybody has said here. So, and we got to hold each other accountable to keep pressing on, y'all.
Yes.
Keep pressing on.
And it really starts with these conversations, and I hope more people are listening that understand that and have these certain roles to move this all forward, which is us and everybody else. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for your contributions, you powerful queens, and I honor all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice meeting all you guys.
This is awesome. Woo!